before the silence, approx. There are crimes that shock a nation, and then there are crimes that refuse to let the world move on. The murder of 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey is one of those cases. Nearly 30 years later, it remains one of America's most haunting unsolved mysteries. It was Christmas night, December 25, 1996. The Ramsey family returned to their home in Boulder, Colorado, after spending the evening celebrating with friends. Everything appeared normal. JonBenét, exhausted from the holiday festivities, was carried upstairs to bed. No one could have imagined that this peaceful night would soon become the beginning of a mystery that would captivate the world. In the quiet darkness, the large family home stood silent. Outside, fresh snow covered the neighborhood, while inside, nothing seemed out of place. Yet, before sunrise, events would unfold that would change the Ramsey family forever. The following morning, JonBenét was reported missing. A lengthy ransom note left inside the house claimed that she had been kidnapped and demanded exactly $118,000 for her safe return. The unusual amount, the strange wording, and the fact that the note appeared to have been written inside the home immediately raised difficult questions for investigators. What began as a kidnapping investigation quickly evolved into one of the most controversial homicide cases in American history. Every piece of evidence, every decision made at the scene, and every theory would be debated for decades. In this documentary, we will carefully separate confirmed facts from speculation, explore the investigation step by step, and examine why the truth behind JonBenét Ramsey's death remains one of the greatest unanswered mysteries of the modern. The morning of December 26, 1996, began like any other day after Christmas. The Ramsey family had returned home late the previous night, expecting nothing more than a quiet morning after the holiday celebrations. Just before dawn, Patsy Ramsey walked downstairs to begin her day. As she reached the staircase, she noticed several sheets of paper lying on the steps. At first, they seemed ordinary. But as she began to read, fear quickly replaced confusion. It was a 3-page ransom note. The message claimed that JonBenét had been kidnapped by a small foreign faction. It demanded $118,000 in exchange for her safe return and warned the family not to contact the police or anyone else. The amount was unusually specific, matching a recent bonus received by John Ramsey, a detail that would later become one of the case's most discussed mysteries. Patsy rushed to JonBenét's bedroom. The bed was empty. Her 6-year-old daughter was gone. Moments later, a frantic 911 call was placed, and officers from the Boulder Police Department arrived at the Ramsey home. Friends and family members also gathered inside the house, hoping for good news while investigators searched for signs of a kidnapping. Following the instructions in the note, police expected the kidnapper to make contact later that morning. Detectives waited anxiously as the hours passed. But the phone never rang. No ransom demand was repeated. No kidnapper appeared. With every passing hour, the silence became more unsettling. What had begun as a possible kidnapping was rapidly turning into something far more mysterious. Investigators were left with more questions than answers, and the events of that morning would shape one of the most debated criminal investigations in American history. The truth remained hidden, and the mystery had only just begun. Hours had passed since JonBenét Ramsey was reported missing. The ransom note had promised that someone would call with further instructions, but the phone remained silent. Inside the Ramsey home, tension grew with every passing minute. Detectives searched for answers, hoping that a kidnapper would eventually make contact. That moment never came. As the afternoon approached, investigators asked John Ramsey and a family friend to look through the house once more for anything unusual that might have been overlooked. The home was large, with multiple rooms, storage areas, and a basement that had not been thoroughly examined earlier that day. John made his way downstairs. Moving through the dimly lit basement, he opened the door to a small storage room. Inside, he made a heartbreaking discovery. JonBenét Ramsey was found there. The search for a missing child ended instantly, and the investigation changed forever. What had begun as a suspected kidnapping was now officially treated as a homicide investigation. In the emotional moments that followed, John carried his daughter's body upstairs. Detectives immediately recognized that the scene had been disturbed, making it far more difficult to preserve important physical evidence. Over the years, investigators and forensic experts would debate whether those actions, taken during an overwhelming family tragedy, unintentionally complicated the search for the truth. As crime scene specialists continued their work, questions began to multiply. Why had a ransom note been left behind if JonBenét had never been taken from the house? Who wrote the note? Was the crime committed by someone from outside the home or by someone who already knew the family? Each new discovery seemed to create even more uncertainty. In the days that followed, the case attracted intense national and international media attention. Television crews gathered outside the Ramsey home, newspapers published new theories almost daily, and millions of people followed every development. Yet much of the public discussion mixed confirmed evidence with speculation, making it increasingly difficult to separate fact from rumor. Nearly 3 decades later, many aspects of that day remain the subject of debate among investigators, forensic experts, and journalists. While advances in forensic science have provided new avenues for investigation, the person responsible for JonBenét Ramsey's death has never been conclusively identified. The discovery in that basement transformed a missing person case into one of the most famous unsolved homicide investigations in American history. A case that continues to raise difficult questions and remind the world that some mysteries refuse to fade with time. Some criminal investigations are solved by a single clue, a fingerprint, a witness, or a confession. But in this case, investigators would find themselves facing a mystery where every clue seemed to raise even more questions. As detectives reviewed reports, photographs, and forensic findings, they hoped the evidence would reveal a clear sequence of events. Instead, each new discovery appeared to deepen the uncertainty surrounding the crime. Attention quickly turned to the events that took place inside the Ramsey home. Investigators carefully examined every detail, believing that even the smallest observation might prove important. At the center of the mystery was a 3-page ransom note. Its unusual length immediately stood out. Most ransom notes are brief, but this one contained detailed instructions and strange wording. The note demanded $118,000. Investigators soon learned that this amount closely matched John Ramsey's recent business bonus, creating another puzzling question in the case. Handwriting experts spent years comparing the ransom note with known writing samples. They searched for patterns, similarities, and characteristics that could identify the author. Some specialists believed certain elements appeared familiar. Others strongly disagreed. Despite extensive analysis, no conclusion was universally accepted, leaving investigators without a definitive answer. The basement became another major focus of the investigation. Detectives examined the area carefully, searching for any sign that could explain how the crime had occurred. Particular attention was given to a broken basement window. Some investigators believed it might indicate an entry route, while others argued there was insufficient evidence to support that theory. Crime scene investigators searched the basement floor, walls, and surrounding areas. Every possible clue was documented and preserved in hopes of reconstructing the events of that night. Fibers, cord, and fragments of a broken paintbrush were collected as evidence. Each item became the subject of detailed forensic examination and public discussion. Inside laboratories, specialists analyzed physical evidence using the technology available at the time. They hoped science could provide answers where traditional investigation could not. One of the most debated aspects of the case involved unidentified male DNA found on JonBenét's clothing. This discovery would remain central to discussions for decades. Supporters of the intruder theory viewed the DNA as significant evidence suggesting an unknown individual may have been involved. To them, it represented an important lead. Others urged caution. They pointed out that trace DNA can sometimes be transferred through innocent contact, contamination, or manufacturing processes before clothing is even purchased. As years passed, forensic experts continued reviewing the evidence, yet the same problem remained. Every clue appeared capable of supporting more than one interpretation. Rather than resolving the mystery, the evidence often seemed to create new debates. Investigators found themselves facing a case where certainty remained frustratingly out of reach. As the investigation continued, public attention increasingly shifted toward the Ramsey family. Detectives examined those closest to JonBenét while searching for answers. Police carefully reviewed family statements, timelines, and movements. Investigators hoped that a clearer understanding of the events inside the home might reveal important information. Meanwhile, the case rapidly became national news. Television programs, newspapers, and magazines devoted enormous attention to every development. Public interest grew with remarkable intensity. Reporters followed the investigation closely, and every new detail quickly became the subject of widespread discussion. John Ramsey also became a central figure in the public debate surrounding the unsolved case. Every interview, every statement, and every appearance was carefully analyzed by both investigators and the media. Meanwhile, detectives continued examining multiple possibilities, attempting to separate facts from assumptions. Two major explanations emerged. One focused on family involvement, the other centered on an unknown intruder. Investigators spent years reviewing evidence, witness statements, and forensic findings connected to both theories. Advances in forensic science later provided new opportunities to re-examine evidence collected decades earlier. Even after years of investigation, important questions remained unanswered, keeping the mystery alive. At the center of every theory was a young child whose life ended far too soon. Today, the case remains officially unsolved. The search for answers continues. On a cold winter night, the Ramsey house stood silent, hiding secrets that would haunt investigators for decades. But some believed the danger did not begin inside the house. Someone may have been watching from the shadows. The intruder theory suggests an unknown outsider approached the home quietly, waiting for the perfect moment. Investigators soon focused on one critical detail, a basement window that may have offered access. If an intruder entered that night, this may have been the path used to get inside unnoticed. In complete silence, someone could have moved through the basement, hidden in darkness while the family slept above. As investigators searched the home, every corner became a possible source of answers or deeper confusion. Forensic teams examined every piece of evidence, searching for clues hidden at the microscope. One discovery changed the debate: unidentified DNA belonging to someone who has never been identified. This evidence divided investigators. Was it proof of an intruder or another misleading clue? Two theories now stood at the center of the case: family involvement or an unknown intruder. Nearly 3 decades later, the intruder theory remains unresolved, and the truth remains hidden in darkness. From the very beginning, the investigation faced serious problems, mistakes that may have changed everything. In the early hours, friends, family, and officers moved freely through the house. Investigators quickly realized the crime scene was becoming increasingly difficult to control. Potential evidence may have been touched, moved, or altered during those critical first hours. Some clues may have been lost forever before investigators even understood their importance. Then came the discovery that changed everything, turning a kidnapping case into a homicide investigation. With the scene disturbed, investigators lost the opportunity to preserve crucial forensic evidence. As the investigation continued, disagreements began to grow between investigators. Some believed the answers were inside the home and focused their attention on the family. Others argued the evidence pointed toward an unknown intruder from outside. As public attention intensified, media pressure added even more complexity to the investigation. In a case already filled with mystery, early mistakes may have buried the truth deeper than ever. Nearly 3 decades later, those early mistakes remain one of the greatest criticisms of this investigation. This case seemed impossible to solve. Remarkable advances in forensic science finally gave investigators renewed hope that modern technology could reveal answers hidden for decades. Preserved evidence was carefully examined once forensic methods that simply did not exist back in 1996, offering investigators an entirely new opportunity to search for answers. Scientists searched every sample for microscopic traces that earlier investigations may have overlooked, leaving even the smallest biological evidence to become an important breakthrough in the case. Every DNA profile tells a story. Even the smallest biological sample can reveal valuable new information. Powerful computer analysis allowed experts to compare genetic evidence with far greater precision than ever before. Investigators believed modern forensic technology might finally uncover hidden leads, offering fresh possibilities in a case that had remained one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries for decades. A piece of evidence handled with exceptional care, as investigators understood even the smallest unnoticed detail could hold extraordinary importance in solving this long-standing mystery. Although no definitive answer has yet emerged, every scientific breakthrough creates new opportunities, encouraging investigators to continue searching for evidence that may finally reveal the complete truth. Nearly 3 decades later, the search for the truth continues, and with every advance in DNA science, hope remains alive. As the investigation continued, one question divided investigators, experts, and the public. What really happened that night? Over the years, several competing theories emerged. Each attempted to explain the available evidence from a different perspective, yet none has successfully answered every important question surrounding the case. One theory suggested that an unknown intruder entered the home and committed the crime before disappearing without being identified. Supporters of this theory point to selected pieces of physical evidence. However, investigators have never found enough reliable proof to confirm that explanation beyond reasonable doubt. Another theory focused on the possibility that someone within the household knew more than investigators initially understood. It is important to remember that no member of the Ramsey family has ever been convicted in connection with JonBenét Ramsey's murder, despite years of investigation and public speculation. A third possibility remains that the true offender has never been identified. Future discoveries or advances in forensic science could one day reveal an entirely unknown suspect to investigators. Modern forensic science continues to examine the available evidence, searching for answers that earlier technology could not provide. The debate continues because every theory contains unanswered questions, and no single explanation accounts for every known fact. Investigators have carefully examined every reasonable possibility throughout the years, yet speculation, assumption, public opinion alone never establish what truly happened on that tragic night. Only reliable evidence can separate verified facts from personal assumptions. That fundamental principle continues to guide investigators in every major unsolved criminal investigation around the world today. Nearly 3 decades later, the mystery endures. Until conclusive evidence emerges, the truth remains officially unknown. Nearly 3 decades have passed, yet the JonBenét Ramsey case remains officially unsolved. Despite years of investigation, the search for truthful answers and lasting justice continues even today. Investigators have examined countless leads, reviewed evidence repeatedly, and followed every credible direction available to them. Modern forensic science continues to evolve with remarkable precision, giving investigators new opportunities to carefully re-examine preserved evidence using technology far more advanced than ever before. Many believe that future advances in DNA technology could one day reveal the answers that have remained hidden for so long. For investigators, for the Ramsey family, and for everyone who has followed this case, hope for justice has never completely disappeared. The search continues with patience and determination. Until conclusive evidence provides the truth, this case remains one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries, and the search for justice continues.